Hey everyone, this is Blake with Worn & Wound, and today we're going to take a look at the Anstead Oceanis. This is the first watch offering from the Young brand, and this specific watch got some notoriety, online at least, for being a very successful Kickstarter project, raising about $50,000, far exceeding its $6,000 goal. The company is run by Tom Anstead, ex-military personnel, and with that in mind, the watch is designed to be very purposeful and utilitarian, obviously having its roots in sort of some sort of classic military design. It retails for about $500, and for that you're getting some quality components, sapphire crystal, Seiko movement, what feels to be a really nice solid build quality. And granted, the design is fairly familiar for a dive watch in this price range, but it does have some unique styling. It's very thoughtful and well laid out. It's got this really nice, unique, very sort of rugged looking bezel to it. So let's take a closer look. Now we're going to take a closer look at the case of the Oceanis. So as you can see, it's got a pretty simple design. It's brushed stainless steel throughout, and its most prominent feature is this sawtoothed, very boldly designed bezel. The watch case itself measures 44 millimeters in diameter, 51 millimeters lug to lug, and it measures 14.3 millimeters tall. You can see here there's a similarly sawtoothed signed crown at 3 o'clock, and the crown measures 7 millimeters in diameter and 5 millimeters protruding from the case. Turning back to the front, talking again about the bezel very briefly, it's a little tough to turn. You get a nice grip on the saw teeth on the side, but one of the nice things about this being a Kickstarter project and Tom Anstead being very close to his customers is that this is an issue that's been raised with him, and he's addressed it. He acknowledges that it's a little bit tougher to turn than he initially anticipated, and he's put out some suggestions on how to help that a little bit. But generally speaking, we really like the design. I think it's really bold. I really like the sharpness to the edge of it. It gives a very aggressive, sort of masculine feel to it. And generally speaking, I just think it's a really nice design detail. The case also features anti-reflective sapphire crystal on the front, and then on the back it's a screw-down case back with the Anstead logo and some additional information about the watch. Looking in now at the dial of the Anstead, it's got a lot of information presented. It's very utilitarian, but at the same time very cleanly designed and functional. It's powered by a Seiko NH36A automatic movement, which is their slightly nicer or newer version of their existing movement. So it's got the quick set date function, it's got hacking seconds. Looking at the actual design of the dial, you'll see obviously we have the date window, the day-date window here at 3 o'clock. I really wish it was a black background with white text, or in this case red text on Sunday. Sometimes I think the contrast works, but in this case I think it would have helped it all sort of blend together a little bit better. And it also has sort of some slight sort of polished steel lining for the day-date window. Moving back to the dial, on the very outer rim you have these very sort of light tick marks for each minute or second, depending on how you're looking at it, and then these dots for each hour, as well as hash markers, larger lines at each hour. And then you have the actual numbers represented at 6, 9, and 12. Those are sort of it's a classic font I think you're going to find in a lot of watches. It's something very familiar. Moving inward, they've included a 24-hour dial. Anstead's made a point of highlighting that, really making the case that this is designed from the military perspective and could be used by someone who's interested in that or comes from that background. You also have the Anstead logo at 12 o'clock. The Anstead logo, actually, I like it a lot. It's a really simple, clean, sort of arrowhead shape. It's presented on the crown and on the back of the case, and I think it'll work well. It's pretty simple in other designs. And then obviously at 6 o'clock you have the Oceanis name, automatic, and then the depth rating of 300 meters. The hands of the watch are very simple, just fence post style hands. They have black bases with the loomed tips, or excuse me, loomed shaft. And then the second hand is mostly black with a loomed dot and an orange tip. You'll find loom throughout the dial on all of the hour markers, including the dots and the lines, the hands in the second hand, and then also you'll find a loomed filling on this triangular shape on the external bezel. Taking a look at the Oceanis on the wrist, I have a 7.5 inch wrist, and it sits comfortably, but it is a much larger watch, as I mentioned, 51 millimeters lug to lug, and 44 millimeters in diameter. For some of you with slightly smaller wrist, it might not be a great fit. But generally speaking, it's been comfortable to wear. The crown protrudes a little bit, again, given the larger size, so it might poke you in the wrist a little bit, but that's a common problem, not prohibitive. Taking a look at the strap that it comes with, it actually comes with 2 straps. This nice tan brown leather strap. As you can see, the lugs are 24 millimeters. And this strap comes with this nice contrast stitching and with the signed steel Anstead buckle here at the end. It's definitely an interesting strap to include with a dive watch. I think it's not what a lot of people would expect, but I think it provides a much more sort of wearable, everyday look to the watch. And we really appreciate the fact that Anstead included that with the watch, sort of broadening people's idea of what, of how a dive watch can be worn. And again, sort of being true to their intention of creating a dive watch that can be worn diving in an active lifestyle, but then also in sort of a more formal setting. So let's take a look at the silicone strap it comes with. As mentioned, the Anstead Oceanis also comes with this nice black silicone strap. It's got the Anstead insignia here, and then on the other side we have the Anstead logo. It's a bit more comfortable than the leather strap. The leather strap is a bit rigid. But this is just another great option to include. It's got the signed buckle, a little different actually, which is nice. The other one has Anstead. This just has the logo. Something else to note that's just sort of interesting, you can see a little bit better on this, is that the lug bars included are actually curved, so these kind of contour a little bit to the case itself. So just to conclude our thoughts on the Anstead Oceanis, it's certainly a good value just to start off, given its build quality, the quality components that it comes with, the Seiko movement, sapphire crystal, etc. And at $500, I think that's comparable to what you would pay for watches with a similar feature set. Aesthetically speaking, it's got a very familiar language to it, but at the same time manages to distinguish itself with, simple design, really thoughtful layout on the dial, and of course the very distinctive sawtooth bezel that we really like the design of. If you're a fan of the Anstead brand and the story behind it, and you've been following it since it was first released on Kickstarter but didn't manage to get a watch, then this is obviously something you're going to seriously consider. If you're approaching it having no sort of knowledge of the Anstead story, we also think that it's a watch that very well may appeal to you. It's very functional, it's very attractive, it's on the larger side, so if you have a smaller wrist, then it may not fit you quite as well, but generally speaking, we think it's a quality value, it's a well-designed watch, and really a great first design from a young brand, and it makes us really excited to see what else Tom Anstead has coming out in the future. So thanks so much for watching the review. Don't forget to read the full review on wornandwound.com, and you can follow us on Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook, and Instagram. Thanks a lot.